Hello and greetings from Iceland. Today is January 23rd, and exactly 50 years ago, it was the morning when my mother woke me up and told me to come and look at the TV, since the Westman Islands were on fire. And the TV was showing the first images from the evacuation, where 5,300 people were transported to the mainland overnight, and mostly with the fishing ships that were in harbor due to weather. And this eruption burned itself on my hard drive, where it's been ever since, or one of the few days I remember so well from this age. There are numerous videos and documentaries online already, and it's little that I can add to them, so as always I'm using my own approach with image blending that I'm not sure if it's been done before, but for my subscribers, only the best. And we started this tour 4 years before the eruption in 1969. And from there I will be showing you how much the island grew and more. The fissure was almost 2 kilometers long, and the eruption came up just beside some farmhouses. And it soon turned out that those who called the fire department that morning had way more to deal with than just a burning house. The Westman Islands, or Vestmannaeyjar, was Iceland's largest fishery town back then, and it soon became clear that this battle would be about the harbor. If the lava would destroy that good shelter for fishing ships, it would have been over for the town, simple as that. So let's place this image over the 1969 aerial photo, from where we can see the volume of lava that came up during those dramatic 5 months. But this was shot only shortly after the eruption came to an end. And this island, in this island cluster, is called the Heimaey, and it was around 11.2 square kilometers before the eruption, but grew to 13.44 square kilometers. And it's widely believed that the 6 million tons of seawater that was pumped over the lava cooled it enough and slowed it down, so the harbor actually got better after the eruption. The US Navy from the Keflavik airport base, which was open back then, they helped us out with heavy-duty pumping equipment, or when it became clear that the experiment was indeed working, so they pumped day and night, which is a remarkable story of its own. And the only thing I can add to it is that how determined people were to move back, even when the town was on fire. Lava bombs were a major problem, setting houses on fire, while other houses disappeared under ash and lava. And I do have an aftermath video online, shot 20 years after the eruption, and I added some subtitles to it, so feel free to take a look, or how people handled it. And then I'm adding this third overlay, this time from 1998, and I love this kind of time-lapse format. This is showing us how they managed to make the island green again, and we can also see how the shoreline eroded since the eruption, and the heat from the lava fields that came up was used to heat the houses in the island for decades after the eruption. It was a huge work to salvage some of the streets that were half buried, but in total they lost around 300 houses. And those are some of the houses they lost when we zoom in a bit. And since then, some of those houses have actually been excavated in recent years as a part of an exhibition to show how nature treated them. However, the population has never reached the same number as before the eruption, and it's around 4,400 today, or 900 less than in 1973. Tourism is now growing very fast in the town, mostly due to this new harbor by the south coast. And when I was shooting this last summer, it was very tempting to do a tour there, but as for that trip I had other plans. And when I will go over there with the drone, I will give myself the time I need. And it's just a part of the aerial photos that I have that I'm showing now. I've been keeping those huge files for a while, and I would like to process them a bit more, like for dust and scratches, and even make my own layer shot from the drone, since I can't get more recent aerial photos than 1998. The photos I've been using now are from the Icelandic Land Survey, open source images, a bit damaged, but good files though. But if I will do those shots myself, I will have more details and angles to work with, since I would also like to make a before-after video from ordinary photos that I know I can get. So this is just a sample of what I have in my project folder. called Vestmannaeyjar. And the day when this started 50 years ago had a considerable effect on me. Despite the fact that I was far away, and when I was a teenager, I took off to Westman Islands to work there during the fishery season, and the wall of lava had stopped just by the factory where I was working. So I often walked beside it and wondering about those events. And it's a special breed of people that lives there by the volcano. While all this went on, Icelanders got help from other nations, like hundreds of timber houses were imported to house the people from the islands. Most of them were placed in the fishery villages, Grindavík and Þorlákshöfn by the south coast. And here up north there are 2 streets with those houses, and I shot this today. And such houses and streets can actually be found all over Iceland. And here we have the Grindavík houses, and it's a bit odd to think of that those houses in Grindavík were nearly evacuated last year, while magma intrusion was causing this land uplift by the town. And I was wondering, could it be that we might have to move those people to Vestmannaeyjar? And this pier in Grindavík was built for the Vestmannaeyjar fishing fleet, and we have the Fagradalsfjall eruption in the background, and it's called the Emergency Fund Pier. And those houses are still called the Emergency Fund houses by the Emergency Fund streets. But life got back to normal. People moved back. But there is, of course, always the risk that we might get another eruption there. However, it seems that a long time passes between volcanic episodes. The older volcano, beside the new one on the island, is believed to be around 5,500 years old, and the seafloor around the island clearly shows that there have been many eruptions there. And keep in mind that the famous Surtsey eruption occurred just nearby in 1963. And that island is still standing. There is, however, very little seismic activity around there today, although the only thing we know for sure is that we will get eruptions there again, in or around the island. But when, only time can tell. And that will be the subject of my full Vestmannaeyjar video after next summer, when I can have some good days there flying the drone around. It's a wonderful place that I highly recommend. And this story explains a bit what sparked my interest in geology. It was in 1976 when I felt very well the last large earthquake on the Tjörnes fracture zone during the rifting episode that led to 9 eruptions between 1975 and 1984. And I could sometimes look at the glowing skies from home, wondering about those forces that later would become the backbone of my channel. So finally, I want to remind you that I do have one fully processed photo on my Redbubble site, fully restored for large format printing, with the town covered in ash shortly before they cleaned it, for this little part of our geological history. And with that, I'm sending you my best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.